as difficult as possible for them to do that. Plenty of options available for anyone's Legend. Annie going to be the lock-in. Azir was something that I was really considering, but that really has seemed to fallen out of the meta over the past couple of weeks. Annie is a very consistent setup threat, and if they do want to go for another carry in the jungle or even something like a Lee Sin, Annie would be a really good pick to be able to facilitate that.
Don't start getting me excited over there, Kman. If we see Tarzan off of a 8 out of 8 MVP performance slam a Lee Sin, it could crash and burn, but out of the draft, I'd be so confident this guy's just going to completely demolish LGD. LGD, though, like this a bit more. They also tried to play away from the 2v2 with the Jhin, get the Nautilus back out on the map, but when you pick the Caitlyn up, you are looking to play for the lane. So that's going to be Shaoye's lock-in. Does mean, though, that Hope can get onto another one of those champions, maybe the only other champion we feel like fits the bill of, you can leave Hope alone and you don't have to worry about him falling behind. I think this Ezreal will be a great slam and another champion that AL are going to get access to that fits right into their comfort bill.
Yeah, honestly, I would slam Ezreal Nico here. If I were them, I would just lock it in and not worry about it too much. You get another playmaker for Kael to be able to play around. You could still do things in the 2v2, even against Caitlyn. Just kind of opens up everything. It's exactly what they want to do, and they follow my advice. They slam that Ezreal Nico, lock that in, and really set themselves up for another game that's very similar to game one. This Nico can roam around the map really consistently, make a lot of plays pretty early on. You can play for the Ezreal if you really feel like you can get that Caitlyn under tower, but especially with Annie set up as well in the mid lane, this is another game where I think Tarzan's going to have his pick of the litter for basically whatever he wants to go for.
Be crazy if he pulls out something like the Viego, but the Pyke is going to come through here now for YCX. Okay. Seeing the Pyke come, make his way into the meta a lot more here, and now it's a complete kill lane down here bot side. So, I do think, like you mentioned, Nico and Ezreal at certain points can go toe-to-toe with any sort of kill lane, but massive respect needs to be paid towards Shaoye and YCX in the 2v2 regardless.
Specifically YCX, he is a hook player through and through. We saw Nautilus in game 1. We saw the Blitzcrank in game 5. We are now seeing the Pyke come through. He loves to play these champions that can make these plays on their own. We've even seen the Thresh out of him in the past as well. Gonna be curious to see what they pair this with on the top side. Cassiopeia is a champion that does need quite a bit of setup in order to be as effective as possible. You actually have a really dangerous late game comp to facilitate with the Pyke if you want to go in that direction. Things like Vayne and Gnar, counter picks on the top side being taken away. I think it's this understanding that it's very likely that LGD want to save this final counter pick for top lane, and they don't want them to have any of these really aggressive lane bullies that can take over in the right matchup. Do you want to go for a carry? I would prefer a facilitator here. I think Skarner is perfect for this draft for LGD. Not only is it Heng's most played champion of the split, but it gives Cassio and Caitlyn some good setup, and it really lets Pyke be able to combo off of somebody. Now the question is, does AL want to go for a carry in the jungle, or do they want to go for something like a Jarvan that is still available that can combo even more cleanly off the Annie?
I mean, with the Shen locked in, I'd really like to see the Battle Shen come out here and just say, Tarzan, let's give you the rock to carry us home. But we talked endlessly about some of these meta bruisers. It's never a bad sign to go towards one of them, and the Pantheon will come out here. So, AL, I think they once again get a lot of comfort champions, and once again, Kman, they're going to be a bigger threat on the map.
It's not even close. They're going to have all of the tools possible. Right now, LGD are going to want to try and survive. It's this side lane dominance that we talk about for AL, but it combos off the fact that they can play around the top side of the map. I think that's the most important thing when it comes to them. We'll see what the counter pick on the top side is going to be here. And it's going to be the Gangplank. The GP as the answer to Shen.
Caitlyn, Cassio, Gangplank. AL, you're on a timer, brother. Holy moly, these three champions scale so well.
It's not even that. It's Skarner as well. I mean, this is impossible to stare down if you're anyone's Legend. You will never win a team fight in the later part of the game. You're not even going to get any pressure on the split push either because they have so many different ways to push outside lanes and to be able to take these turrets. It's very much a clock, but boy, that clock starts pretty late for LGD. I don't really see a good avenue for them to be able to make or control the map at all in the early game because of these macro ultimates, the Pantheon, the Shen, the Nico is going to be moving around the map. The Annie has so much set up. Even Ezreal is super safe. LGD, yes, they win if they go late. I don't know how they get there. I feel like we're staring down a lot of lane matchups where AL are just going to have full control of this map pre-20 minutes.
So Mr. Burdol does have 2 Gangplank games under his belt so far, 1-1, but it's been a hot minute since we've seen him go towards the GP. Fun draft here. I can respect the approach from LGD this time. They kind of felt like they couldn't go toe-to-toe with a snowball v snowball comp, a map play comp to match AL. So this time, they're going for the, like you mentioned, the more passive approach. We dare you to beat us fast, because if you give us enough time, this comp here from LGD does outscale LGD playing for the late game. This is, I would say, Kman, a huge inflection point. If they can get away with this comp and, you know, force 1-1, it's a whole different territory. But if they get smashed again 2-0, this series may come back. And so first, both of our supports pick up the first 2 kills, Kman.
Certainly already action happening on the map, and you know what? That's how you play Pyke. You want to talk about a kill lane. Pyke is certainly a kill lane champion. For those of you who might not have been watching throughout a lot of this split, definitely think of Pyke more like you would have thought of an Elise support, where you're hoping and praying that you can get these massive leads by roaming and making a lot of these big plays around the map. If you don't get that lead, things can become more difficult, but we talked about YCX being a bit of a hook extraordinaire type of player. He's going to try to make the most of it. Tangyuan just going to flash out of range. He doesn't want any sort of engage from Tarzan here. I
think he had to. I actually think if he doesn't flash there, he might just be dead, because a double flash follow-up, I don't think he's able to get out. So I appreciate that from Tangyuan, but Castillo without a flash is a easy re-gank tool, especially with Shanks being able to just snap stun, and Tarzan maybe without even out that Grand Starfall. So Tangyuan is going to have to play pretty safe going forward. Maybe we'll look to get a reset here as he's able to get this wave into Mr. Shanks, as Heng is going to venture into the enemy jungle, looking to find Tarzan. Pretty audacious. Usually you don't expect the Skarner to invade the Pantheon, but that's the power of the bot lane prio. Tarzan will smite away his Gromp, won't lose access, and will not be hankered by YCX's Pyke there.
Really good smite from Tarzan. If he doesn't get that, he is a little bit behind in terms of the clear. You never really want to be behind as the Pantheon. You want to hit that 6 as quickly as possible. Still, this could be double crab coming in from Heng as he makes his way towards the top side of the map here. TP coming in from Shanks. This would be a bit of a greedy take, but looks like Tarzan's going to give it over. Just going to understand that, hey, we're good. YCX is in the mid lane. Shanks has to flash.
That's what you want out of the Pyke. Oh, right. The Bone Skewer will go wide, but now both of our immobile mid laners without that key flash.
I mean, that's huge. Again, this is really well played from YCX in the early game. We need this Pyke to be able to open up the map, and he's doing exactly that. Really well done overall in the early game from LGD. This thing gets out of control pretty fast for them, and so the Pyke making sure to equalize a lot of this early pressure, making sure that Tarzan doesn't get out of control and start to farm up to hit that level 6 on the Pantheon is huge. Does leave his AD carry a little bit more exposed. Tarzan's going to look for a play, but his support is back on the bottom side here.
What is this role reversal? We just watched LGD 3-man invade onto Gromp, and now AL are doing the same thing onto Mr. Hug's Krugs. Taking a decent amount of harass here from Shaoye. YCX going to hunt with the Bone Skewer, find Tarzan. Aegis of Assault going to have to come up here to make sure no more poke damage comes through from Shaoye, but he's already got the Lethal Tempo stacked up. Tarzan going to have to flash there. AL getting pretty greedy to try and get Tarzan a lead in the camp category, and there's just a lot of early flashes off the board in this game.
I mean, it's a good start here for LGD. They do get a lot of those summoner spells. The question is, what do they get out of this, right? Burning the flash on Pantheon is huge. Burning the flash out of Annie is huge, especially for those level 6 plays that could come through. TP coming back. Flandre taking a couple of tower shots. He could actually potentially be in some danger here, but I always forget just how slow the TP is. And then I remember it's a Gangplank on the top side anyways, and then there's probably not a lot of kill pressure from that champion, but the gold has not really changed all that much. For as much as we can praise LGD for these plays, they haven't exactly gotten a ton out of it yet. Now, if they can punch these flashes and make sure they can take away some of that pressure at level 6, that is really where you can make your big mark, but they're probably going to have to do it relatively soon.
Keep up the tempo with YCX. We did talk endlessly about how the scale game is really on board for LGD, but a lot of the matching of the map play is going to come on to Mr. YCX's hands to see if he can create havoc with, like you mentioned, those lack of flashes. Especially now that we have that first Drake online. The Mountain Drake is in the pit just behind you as our junglers continue to try to contest each other's camps. Heng will not lose out onto his Raptors there. Ultimate available for Tangyuan. Shanks really wants to get Tippers online here. Definitely the best game to play into a Pyke, though, is Ezreal, and Hope is ever confident that he can dodge out on these Bone Skewers without having to use that Arcane Shift.
I mean, it's a very similar situation for Hope in game number 1. He just kind of has to basically hope and pray, if you want to use his name in some sort of pun. Pray another 80 carry, but I digress. You gotta hope that the top side wins. That's the dream here for Ezreal, is that you can just continue to push in, play relatively well into the Caitlyn, be really safe, play around these dragons, and just allow your top side to be able to generate their own leads. Again, for as much as we're praising what LGD are doing right now, this Pyke is level 3 and eventually will become less of a nuisance in this mid game because the Pantheon and the Annie are going to be such a diabolical duo. Even the Shen's really going to negate a lot of the power from Pyke. You're going to look for those ult executes, and you're just going to run into a giant Shen ult on top of whoever you're trying to kill. So it's definitely not going to get easier for this champion, and that's why I think it's really important to take advantage now before they start to get online with those level 6s.
Well, Tarzan, not too far away from that mark. One camp will actually get him access to that Grand Starfall. Heng as well, one camp away from having the Impale, but he's looking to go for that Ishtal's Impact gank, maybe onto Flandre. Not going to pull the trigger there just yet. He's pathing towards Tarzan's Raptor Pit. Tarzan's spotted, but he's going to double back here. This camp is for level 6.
Yeah, notably for level 6. Shanks is level 6 as well.
Oh, Tarzan got it.
Tarzan's going in once he hits it.
There's Tibbers to lock up the stun. Heng's going to flash a try and installs Impact Shanks, but he doesn't get him into the wall. Doesn't matter. Petrified Gaze going to find that first kill, but here comes the Stand United. Battle Shen is here to play, and Flandre will help Tarzan, making an AL win. Double over to our King of the Jungle. Oh, maybe he wants a triple Kman. Grand Starfall going right after Burdol. The Powdered K going to find one slow. Tarzan does have the Aegis Assault up if he wants it, trying to stack up his Q passive. He's going to eat another Q, but there's the stun back up. Flash from Burdol into the bush, but it is warded. Aegis Assault comes down just in time. Burdol finds the kill. And Flandre, I don't think he can cut down this gap just in time. Burdol's going to kite back. He wants to try and play for another kill. Flandre going to walk into that brush. No vision. The alcove is Burdol's friend. Does eat up on some oranges. Vitamin D does not save Burdol. Flandre will drop him.
A crazy fight. Ultimately, a very, very good fight for both teams because the gold is going on priority members. We're not done yet, though. YCX!
Oh, the Flash Bone Skewer lands short.
Just a little short. YCX, I mean, he is trying to pull some things back. An unbelievable turn of events. Both of these teams throwing caution to the wind on these exchanges, and it opens up grubs for LGD to be able to take in this game. This was something I was going to point out if we didn't get all this action, but grubs are actually massive for this LGD comp, much more so than in game number 1, in my opinion. They actually have some really good side lane control in terms of how they were able to play out, and I do think that being able to pressure out Shen and Pantheon and be able to force some of these plays on side lanes while they make those macro calls, that's really important to keeping themselves in a lot of these game states in the mid game, even if they're not making the most aggressive plays on the map. Getting a kill on the Gangplank is good. Getting a kill on the Cassio is good. 2 kills on the Pantheon, though. Quite terrifying.
Terrifying indeed. Don't think it'll take many more camps before Mr. Tarzan has himself the Sundered Sky completed. Going to steal away another Raptor camp here with Kael covering. Both these supports, once again, I like it. Really getting out on the map here. A bit more out of YCX here so far. And the first dragon is still yet to be claimed. I think this is AL's window to go for it. They have a Shaoye having to answer a bot lane wave. That is Tangyuan clearing out a mid lane wave. Yep, all right, so AL are going to get the former love of Kman, the dragon side of this trade. There's all True Shot Barrage. Oh! Man down, YCX.
Yeah, there goes the Pyke. Well, unfortunately, you know, I compared Pyke to Elise. And what I meant by that is that it's level 4. I hope you got your lead because it gets harder from here. Heng on the top side going to try and punish Flandre. This is going to be a difficult play to make, though. Oh,
but he gets the slam into the Impale. Come on back over, Flandre. Burdol's got a word he wants to have with you. He's able to get back under turret here. Oh, the Cannon Barrage. That's enough of a slow, and there's a rock landing on Flandre in the back. Nice little cross-map play there from LGD.
I actually think that if he had Q up like a second earlier, he survives that because he survives the Q coming in from the Skarner. You got to be real careful with the Shen on the top side. The play is made, and they are going to get a lot of gold onto Burdol. When you're talking about generally getting gold in the right spots, I think Gangplank is the most important member in this game. The Cassiopeia is going to scale. You're going to hit a point where that team fight's going to be successful. You have the front line coming in from the Skarner. It's Gangplank that can make or break whether this comp is successful, and being able to get that Triforce completed early, even getting some gold on the Caitlyn here, utilizing some of that pressure. It's well placed for LGD. They have themselves a small gold lead, and we talked about them scaling so well. Them being able to win early is definitely a bonus.
But now that we've opened up the map a bit more, start to meander our way into the mid game. Tarzan has a lead, and he's going to look to try and push that further forward with that map pressure like we talked about. Battle Shen up and available for Flandre. Stand United is back online, and Grand Starfall overloads are soon to come. Reminder for maybe people that missed game 1, Tarzan's favorite target to get him super fed on the Fury was Mr. Burdol. So wonder how much he's going to try and slow down this GP that you mentioned is out to a pretty good start for a full-scale top laner.
We know Burdol can make some plays happen, but AL looking for those plays themselves, grouping up as 3. It's exactly what we wanted to see from anyone's Legend. Kael continuing to make his presence known. This is why you draft Bard in game 1. That's why you draft Nico in game 2, to allow this guy to open up the map and really be a key macro threat. Definitely worth noting that the Dragons are going in favor of AL. I think their comp prefers a lot of these river fights in terms of the way they're set up. True Shot Barrage can hit basically the entirety of the river, and obviously Pop Blossom is going to be a big problem when you're trying to approach them if they can set up early. So definitely important for AL to continue to have these fights around some of these neutral objectives, but for now, just going to be chilling. We'll see if they want to go for some of these more aggressive plays. You got to be a bit worried about the Pyke, but no level 6 on that champion does mean that you are a little bit safe for now at being able to make some aggressive plays without getting punished too hard.
I'd like to divert the conversation for a second to voice my displeasure. Why is my Caitlyn building collector in the big 2-6? Come on, man.
Yeah.
Hex Optics, like full crit, it makes Caitlyn such a viable threat in the late game. We'll have that conversation later. Flandre is just getting jumped by Heng every day and twice on Sunday. Really holding for the bone skewer. He's now going to flash for the impale after the dash does come across. And Flandre will once again fall. This time it's Burdol that picks up the kill. Heng is really getting revenge for Burdol after what he went through from Tarzan in game 1.
I really like this play, and the ult being dropped on the bot lane is really important. It actually saves this tower from being taken for Hope, I believe. At least it'll take one more wave. Worth noting that as much as we can talk about Burdol getting super fat on the top side, very true. Good investment from Heng to be able to get his top laner into a great spot. You do have now a bot side problem because you're 30 CS up again on the bot side as Ezreal into Caitlyn, which is only going to be a bigger issue as we get further and further along into the mid game. We'll see where these fights end up happening because Gangplank has the entire gold lead right now for LGD, and if they can fight around him, maybe they can continue to pressure this out, but it is definitely going to be a bit more difficult to fight around anyone else at this point.
About a minute out from that next dragon. Sure, it's going to be a big priority for AL, but as you talked about, it was a really nice highlight you made when AL was playing confident on the map. When they're in this sort of phase, they like to make fights happen a bit before those objectives come around here. So I'm curious if we're going to get our first, or I guess our second Grand Starfall here from Tarzan to maybe try and pick up a kill before this Drake spawns. It's a little too close for comfort here. At this point, Tarzan's going to be spotted on the top side by a nice ward, so Burdol will be able to play safe, and they can't really make this pick happen. I think Tarzan's just going to have to walk all the way back down towards that bot side. Stand United available for Flandre. Both of them actually have TP as well, so could be setting up for our first 5v5 where Burdol's lead is really going to be tested.
I mean, in my opinion, it's now or never for AL. We keep talking about how they get outscaled in this game. You do have to make plays eventually. You have to start forcing these fights, and this dragon is going to be a really big one to set up for. They do have the push in the mid lane, which is super important to make sure this Nico is as dangerous as possible around this area. We can look at the vision coverage. It's one solitary ward right now on the bottom side. I guess two, technically, if you want to talk about the one near Gromp as well. But overall, there's not a lot of vision of the river coming in from the side of LGD. It is very nerve-wracking to try and walk into a Nico, and they might just try to avert it entirely by playing towards this top side again.
Flandre, buddy. It's just one of those games, man. He's going to see Heng. Is he going to stand United here? I don't know if he gets this off. I think Heng might have canceled it. Flandre's not going to arrive. The Grand Starfall still comes down, and it's a nice stun layering, but Tangyuan is going to flash before the anti-damage is enough to get the kill. Tarzan goes for a Hail Mary Spear. That doesn't land. Rocket Belt doesn't get Kael close enough, so unfortunate timing there for Flandre on that Shen ult. It's not a kill, but AL should be able to trade this Herald for the second Drake of the game.
It's a trade of objectives, but again, a trade of objectives is good for LGD. The only negative is that AL can start forcing fights around these dragons as we get closer and closer to Soul Point. That is a concern with the comp that they've drafted for themselves, but stalling this game out in the way that they have has been really impressive. YCX going to be playing really on the edge of danger here as he begins to scout out the dragon. We're going to get a replay of this ult being stopped here. Just well done by Heng, unfortunately for Flandre. The entire team was in the area, so wasn't able to get that ult off, but just again, overall, very positive, I would say, for LGD. They're 2k gold up, and they're able to drop the Herald in the mid lane with a comp that scales this well. A lot of the gold is on this Gangplank. We might actually be seeing a pretty good game state for LGD in this one.
And this is a test for AL. It is easy to take a massive lead into the mid game, 2k plus gold, and never look back. But AL, with all the struggles we talked about, back looking to the regular split, back looking up against Team WE, they're definitely one of those teams that has struggled to overcome a gold deficit in the early to mid game. And like you've continued to point out, they need to make that up sooner rather than later. They cannot really be waiting around. I would even be worried about them kind of just waiting for next Dragon timers to do so, because giving Caitlyn more items, GP will be soon a second item at this point. We're allowing a Roa Cassiopeia, a Serap's Cassiopeia to scale further. They need to make plays before objective timers allow them to do so.
Absolutely. I mean, you have to start pushing the tempo. I think at some point, you definitely need to make sure that you're getting gold onto priority members. Keep an eye on that Grand Starfall coming in from the Pantheon. Once that's off of cooldown, I imagine we're getting a lot more action on the map. That's going to be the main, I think, go tool for what AL want to do here in the mid game for LGD. They obviously just don't want to make a massive mistake at this point, but the AL that we saw in game number 1, controlling the map, playing through tempo, understanding where they need to be in side lanes, it's not been the same AL that we've seen here. You know, they were first to basically every play. This time they're much more reactive, and LGD are doing a great job of getting side lane pressure and being able to counter map essentially anywhere. Burdol gonna have to TP out from the aggressive play that's being made here, but again, TP for Gangplank for a bot lane tower, I think they're gonna take that trade.
At the very least, it's gonna go 1-for-1, right? Bot lane tier 1 to top lane tier 1. And he's able to soak up Shanks' ult, get the stun down. Burdol doing a really good job on his own, and also pairing up with Heng. Yeah, he's going to walk his way back here and doesn't really even miss out on too much. Yes, he's able to get that one of those cannon barrage upgrades as well. Here comes the Great Starfall here from Tarzan. Tangyuan, nice TP. Tarzan thought he walked towards the river. He just kind of mogs him, TPing out in front of Flandre's face.
Typically, you wouldn't say that teleport for ultimate is a good trade, but in this case it is. Grand Starfall is their main initiation tool, and it's been used for nothing in the mid game here. It feels like this Pantheon has just not had the same level of effect that you need. Shaoye doing a good job to push down this turret with the Caitlyn in the mid lane, and YCX just pressuring out. This turret's going to be gone very soon.
Oh, but here we go. Kael pop us on a 2. It's Shaoye that's the flash. He's far too low. Tarzan follows, and a battle shed has arrived. All of a sudden, AL spring a trap. They've got 4 in the mid lane. It's only Shaoye, though, that ends up dropping. So, again, it's a nice overload here from AL, but they're not getting enough returns on their initial investments.
I mean, it is still a good pullback. You are able to get a kill there, and you're able to stop at least some pressure from going down. You lose a lot on the map, and that turret's very much clinging on to life, just barely. If Shaoye doesn't misplay that at least a little bit, you probably get even less, though. So you're pretty lucky with how that ends up, working out. Shaoye steps up and takes the full Ezreal combo with a tower shot while trying to take down this turret. Kael is able to capitalize well. Even with the cleanse coming out from Shaoye, Tarzan's able to secure it with the flash. At this point, though, LGD really have no damage. Tangyuan trying to combo off of it, but unfortunately the ult just not enough in that instance. And while it is still a gold lead for LGD, you don't want to be making those levels of mistakes. Tarzan now going to continue to look for some plays, this time on Burdol.
Okay. Wave isn't up yet to allow Shanks to walk through. They're kind of just backing Burdol off the turret so he can't get these powder kegs down to clear out the waves and allow Shanks to finally knock down this top tier 1 turret. Get himself some extra gold here to further accelerate. Could potentially help Shanks get over towards that second item to put a lot more burst onto the Annie's kit. True Shot Barrage try and clear the wave here. Okay, I like that from Tarzan. He pulls the wave. They are keeping this mid tier 1 on its last legs here, Kman.
I think they really want to force them to try and overcommit for it once this dragon spawns to try and get inside track onto the bottom side of the river. That makes a lot of sense in this instance. It's just a lot of resources committed from Tarzan. He is 3-1-0, so once again, he is going to be a bit of a win condition for anyone's Legend in some of these fights. They wouldn't have it any other way. Hope going to be able to shove that wave out, and as I pointed out, 20 seconds on that Cloud Dragon spawning. It's Cloud Soul this game for AL, and it's actually a really good one for their comp. They're going to be very happy to be able to play this out. They have the inside track with that vision. Keep an eye on Kael. He's a big initiator for LGD or for AL in this one. If LGD overstep with their lack of mobility, that could be a problem.
Yep, YCX is going to look for Bone Skewer picks, but Kael's going to look for that big team fight. It's again a force to try and get this mid-tier 1 turret down. Can they get Shaoye in to get this auto through? Yep, there we go. So Heng's going to pick up the mid-tier 1 finally. And AL are bullied out of the river for now. Flandre's walking back over towards that top side. He, of course, has Stand United back up and available. And Kael is hunting for a killer flank, but he will also be spotted.
Yeah, this is just... Kael is completely separated. He might even be caught out here. Burdol and YCX are going to be moving around the side. It's going to be so tough now for the Nico to find her way in. This flank was really, really greedy. We'll see if Kael gets punished.
All right, here we go. He's trying to bring Shen back in here. The pop blossom only hits onto YCX. CPs are coming across. Flandre arrives. YCX will get out, and Kael is done for. Burdol picks up that first kill. Flandre down to half HP already. And LGD, they have a lot of their ultimate tools still available if they want to work their way back through this river. They've got the man advantage. Shanks is going to whiff on the Rocket Belt Timbers combo. The Cannon Barrage comes back down. Heng can't get close enough for an impale. Petrifying Gaze doesn't land, but Flandre's going to flash just to kill off YCX. Tarzan trying to hold the front line 1 versus 2, but Shanks is down. Hope shifting forward, though, able to create some serious damage done, and Hope is able to lift AL out of a bad fight. Grand Starfall down onto Tangyuan. The Miasma can make sure Tarzan can't get close enough. Tangyuan trying to play around vision, but Kael is respawned and found the slippery snake, who's continuing to slither all around AL. He's pushed himself all the way up to the walls of the AL base, and nobody's really feeling confident enough to try and kill him. Oh my god, he's going for another TP play. Flandre cancel this one. Oh, he doesn't get it! Tangyuan lives, but Hope the hero for AL.
What a team fight from Hope. That was absolutely ridiculous. That looked like a terrible setup for anyone's Legend. Kael obviously gets caught early trying to deliver Flandre into the rest of the team, but he's so separated that he dies as quickly as he makes his way in. The fight's not even over. Tarzan and YCX are skirmishing. Is this even good for the Pyke?
If he can get Burdol a kill. He's got that TP shield. Oh my god, he uses Burdol as a way to get over the wall. Bone Skewer going to pull Tarzan back closer, Aegis of Defense. They'll buzz block any damage from the gangplank coming through. Flandre versus Burdol to now flash away. LGD are really greeding to try and find some of these low health bars. I don't know if they're going to get any of them. Maybe Flandre. Tangyuan can't get close enough. Heng can't either. Extra TPs and resources used for LGD to just push AL out of their own jungle.
LGD lost control of this game for 2 minutes and are starting to make the biggest desperation plays that I've seen. I can't actually believe it. This looks like such a good engage for LGD. It looks like such a mistake from Kael. Again, I understand the idea of wanting to use the Stand United to deliver Flandre with that Pop Blossom into the backline, but you do not have the health bar for this. Kael dies instantly, Pop Blossom goes nowhere, and now you're staring down the barrel of a 4v5. Shanks whiffs his Rocket Belt ultimate, but you know what actually matters more than the ult landing? As it turns out, Tibbers just slamming away this entire fight. Flandre does a good job to lock them down, but look at the consistent damage that Hope is outputting in this fight. The moment that he arcane shifts forward, he is in a fantastic spot to completely take over. It's just better execution from AL in the fight. Shaoye, YCX, they're not in a good position to take advantage of their range, and Hope just plays it better to win it for AL.
Man, Hope. I'm liking what I'm seeing, brother. There were some schmoves there. Positive arcane shift forward. The only tragedy here, Kman. All right, hold on. We'll talk about it in a second. Delivering a Battle Shen through Grand Starfall. Map pressure at its finest here from AL. Out of nowhere, Tangyuan has himself in a precarious spot. I'm now realizing Flandre didn't actually complete the Stand United, but hey, you gave Tarzan the shield. They do make the pick play happen. Tangyuan will finally drop in his side lane.
The shield was the most important part of that play anyway, so it's fine. They're able to get the play down. That's how you take advantage of the missing resources from this Cassiopeia. This champion's not in a good spot to play side lane. Oh my god, Flandre's dead!
Oh my lord. Preview of what could happen for the rest of this game if AL don't get a bigger grasp. Speaking of grasp, there's Kael grabbing 2 with the Pop Blossom, but where's my follow-up? Hope wasn't close enough. Shanks couldn't Rocket Belt in to find a big stun, and all right, it's more gold over to Burdol.
Okay, that actually really matters, as we're getting a replay of, oh,
wait.
No, he did complete this, and United, it just turns out
so
it goes to where it was before the Pantheon ults.
So Tarzan has to fully land for Flandre to follow him, I guess is what we're learning, or I'm learning.
An interaction that I think we're both learning about in real time. Slayer, that's certainly interesting. I would be pausing the game and asking officials if that was correct. But hey, you know, to each their own. I guess if they don't want to make that pause happen. 2K gold lead here for LGD. Most notably, all of it is on Burdol. This gangplank is the win condition entirely for LGD. They are not out of this game by any stretch. Not only do they have that gold lead, but they have a comp that's perfectly set up to execute on it. They just can't make those teamfight mistakes. Shaoye in particular has not been great in these 5v5s, but they are not taking the risk now. They're dancing around this Baron, and it's going to go down relatively quickly if AL don't join.
Trap line set up by Shaoye. Tarzan has to take the brunt trying to walk through. Baron below 5k HP. YCX on the back line just throwing some bone skewers. Tarzan needs to get into this pit, but LGD, they feel a little shy. They don't want to flip this. Cannon Barrage is down. The Baron has reset. So AL call the bluff, and you can see they saw the HP on the Baron reset, and they're like, we have no reason to fight any further.
It's a big call from AL to say, hey, we know you're not going to force around here, but I understand you don't want to throw the game around this Baron 1 minute until Soul spawns for anyone's Legend. That's where they want to utilize these resources. They don't want to waste everything, even at a Baron that could be valuable to them. This Soul is much, much more valuable to keep them up in terms of pacing with the stat gain that LGD are just naturally going to get. Their comp scales better. So, like the call, like the boldness from anyone's Legend, and we really could be setting up for a 5v5 for the entire game around this Dragon Slayer.
45 seconds out. Take stock of the damage items just to talk about the scaling, right? Burdol, 3 items down. He is very problematic, even if he necessarily isn't at that huge crit marker we see a lot of gangplanks with. Heng has a lot of HP to burn through by this point, but this Cassio doesn't have the big damage yet. The Caitlyn isn't there quite at that moment. So if LGD can win this and stall out the Cloud Soul, they may be on to the scaling point that we've been hyping them up for, as LGD control the river for now.
As always, keep an eye on Kael. If that Pop Blossom lands on more than 3 members, that could be a free fight win for AL. We've already seen what Hope can do if given some time. The setup is there. They just have to go out and execute as this Dragon spawns.
AL setting up shop here towards the bottom side of this river. Flandre is disconnected, but has that stand united. The True Shot Barrage will do some decent chunk damage. The Scuttle Crab is spawned to get rid of a lot of vision, but oh my god, there's a flank onto AL's side here. Burdol trying to work his way through. Tangyuan finds Punch Divine Gaze onto Hope. Immediately has to be the Stand United, but Hope should be able to drop. He's got a Flash Arcade Shift, but will fall to Tangyuan. Big bad Hope is down. Can Tarzan do the heavy lifting? Shaoye got blown up by Shanks on the back end as Kael pulls Heng away. Despite Hope dropping, the top side for AL is going to bring home another fight win. Tarzan Grand Starfall take out Heng. YCX will be the only one to survive to tell the tale. No, he won't even. It's an AL ace.
The flank coming in from Cassiopeia feels like it is the defining moment of this entire game, but where's the damage? The Cassio goes down to trade for Hope's life, and there's nothing left. Tarzan completely obliterates the back end of that fight. Burdol is not enough to be able to carry the damage through for LGD. AL are able to clean up everything with their CC chaining. They get this soul. They're going to get the tower on the bottom side of the map as well. The gold lead for LGD has completely evaporated, and AL has immediately gotten back into this game. We're going to get a replay of exactly what happened here. Tangyuan does find that flank immediately onto Hope. The Stand United comes down to keep him alive for just long enough for him to be able to get out of that circumstance. It means that both Tangyuan and Burdol have to overcommit, but where's my AD carry? Oh, the Caitlyn's dead already because Shanks is on the backline. The Caitlyn gone, no damage done. Burdol can't 1v9 at this point in the game just yet. And unfortunately for LGD, despite the really nice flank at the start of the fight, it's just not enough. If you were on something other than Cassio, maybe the flank goes a little bit better just because you have more tools to get back out, but the front to back is kind of what you needed to play, and AL said, we want this disconnected fight.
It was such a nice flank, but yep, Shaoye really got hung out to dry. But good to see Shanks finally capitalize. He whiffed some tippers. He's been a bit, off in certain points of this series so far. That's the big clutch kill to find. And did we really ever doubt Tarzan? Even if he's not on a full-on carry, the Pantheon still packs enough of a punch. He is now the one holding the largest gold lead once again. Has the GA done for allowing to play make even further. And with that Cloud Soul, Kman, how much harder of a game does this feel like for LGD?
I mean, this feels very, very scary. The amount of tools that AL now have consistently to be able to make these plays happen is massive. TP coming in from LGD. They're forcing now.
Oh, there's the impale on to 2, followed up by YCX, but Kael does hold Shaoye in the background. YCX gets popped here from Hope, who's untouched. Tangyuan throws out a good petrifying gaze, but Tarzan's fine. He's got the GA. He'll very easily trade his life out, but he won't even need to, because Hope, this time untouched, has enough in the tank to bring home another fight win. Shaoye only able to get a desperate 1 trade kill. Hope has arrived to our series, a triple kill over to the Ezreal.
A triple kill for the Ezreal, and LGD's hopes might be going away along with their life in that fight. Baron going to be going down in favor of AL. They have the gold lead, they have map control, they have soul, they have everything in this game. We were worried about them getting outscaled in some of these team fights, but the reality of the situation is that if LGD never plays front to back, there is no outscaling to have. My Cassio is always on a flank. My Pyke is going in and dying before he can get ultimate off. The execution from LGD has been lackluster in this game, and it's taken them from a 2K gold lead in the exact stage where they're not supposed to get it to now being nearly out of this game.
We were asking to see if AL could continue winning in newer ways, right, Kman? That's the future outlook. And while we talked a lot about wanting to see it be the top side, I think it is really refreshing to see Hope on one of his most comfortable champions just doing tons of damage across this fight. You just can't ignore this Ezreal. He's just such a problem. And you see it across this entire replay.
I mean, Hope has been phenomenal this whole game. He is very much going to be in the running for player of the game. Tarzan, I think, once again, going to have a big conversation about that. But, I mean, the state that they were in before these plays was not great for them. The fact that they've just been able to outplay every single one of these fights as they now use this Baron buff to push down the mid lane. It's all AL all the time in this series. We are seeing the best version of them that we could possibly see in these games. You can criticize some of their early decisions and some of their early fights, but when it matters the most, these players are stepping up, even the ones that were not quite as good throughout a majority of the split. Using that Baron buff to push down to mid lane now, we get that push coming down on the top side from the Shen as well. This is going to be a very difficult defense from LGD.
It's just too rough to be stretched this thin when they want to group up and play front to back. I think that's such a good point you've continued to make, Kman. We've yet to see a fight really fit LGD standards, even if they have scaled up some. Good petrifying gaze on the Grand Starfall, but Flandre's going to flash right onto Tangyuan's head to ensure the taunt. He goes gold to get away from Tibbers, but Shanks and all of AL are still there to find that kill. Even with the map enclosing on LGD, AL still play it as wide as they possibly can. And now they have the push on the top side, looking for an inhibitor turret. There's a wave to answer in the mid lane. LGD are being pulled apart seam by the seam.
AL are just dominating. Heng is the target.
Heng.
He's gone. Deleted from the
God.
map, and that could be game here.
Hope is just cooking, man. Damage is so unrelenting. That's your tank Skarner. I think it's just turned into mincemeat by this point. Hope looking to bring the game home on the point man. On to the Nexus turrets here. It's Burdol using the Cannon Barrage to get rid of the wave, but the first Nexus turret will drop. Burdol on the wrong side of everything as Kael once again going for the stand. United Blossom that will find another kill. YCX drops. Tarzan gonna flash around to Shaoye's head. The inhibitor turret will not save you. Another kill over to AL. They're just picking LGD off one by one. And there is Burdol dropping. Tangyuan, the only one left up. AL, it may have been a bit murkier in the mid-game, but they bring it home hard into the late phase, and they take a 2-0 lead in our lower bracket bout.
It looked a little contentious, Slayer. It looked a little up in the air, but far be it for me to say that AL can't have a 9K gold lead in around 6-ish minutes because they were down 2,000 gold. They swing it back to a 7K gold lead after just a couple of fights. You know, we were talking about how LGD had the scaling advantage, but what we did not account for was that one of these teams is better in fights than the other, and that was very, very clear. They absolutely needed to step up in those team exchanges. I was getting concerned about the way that they were playing the map, utilizing the Grand Starfalls. All of that goes away when your AD carry and Hope is popping off in fights, when you're finding good angles for Flandre to be able to get into the backline on Shen, and specifically when Tarzan once again gets to take over on a champion he has become very, very well known for.
And still, the headline to me that you really started pushing after that Game 1 draft is that AL access to their most comfortable champions, it really feels like everybody is meeting the mark and some exceeding it, right? Game 1, Tarzan to Fury, super big comfort champion for him. And even guys like Flandre on the Scion looked good. Kael is an amazing Bard player. He was nice. The bottom lane, I think it's two of their most comfortable champions. Again, outside of the bot lane play that might have really sold this game from Kael, he was wonderful on the Nico, and like you mentioned, Hope has now got to play Varus and Ezreal, and he has been very good in this series on both of those, and those are two really good signs and reasons why this series might be done and dusted already.
He is just, he's so comfortable. Everyone on the team is so comfortable right now. When you look at some of their most played champions, not just this split, but throughout their career, that's what AL have drafted. Like throughout this entire series, you're the most played, the most comfortable. I mean, even stylistically, it's everything that you could possibly ask for. For LGD, I understand the idea of the gangplank and the pike. And, you know, I've talked about this before. I do get the idea that, hey, if you really do think that you are the underdog or that you're not exactly the favorite in a series, throw some stuff at the wall. See what sticks and try and catch your opponents off guard. I think playing standard comps can sometimes just be a little bit difficult if you feel like you're going to execute worse. But the pike was not it in this game. It never really found any advantages. Even early on, we weren't finding those roams to be particularly effective. You burned flashes, but for what? Like, you never actually did anything when you burned those flashes. Exactly what I was talking about in the game. It's all well and good to get them, but you have to do something with them. And even with the gold lead they were able to get on Gangplank from overloading on the top side, all of it was fictitious because his Gangplank can't 1v5. He's not that kind of champion anymore in the game. You have all of this setup, all of this teamfight engage on the other side. It just overall was better execution from AL, and it's what we expected to see coming into this series.
I don't really want to, you know, hanker too much on one selection in this draft. It's such a tough spot to be in with when you select Caitlyn, because Caitlyn is obviously always been known as, like, when you look at her graph of power, it's like a big cavern, right? Like really good early laning game champion, maybe the worst mid game champion when it comes to AD carries, and then late game, especially now, she really scales up. Build issues I had aside, with putting the pike with it and really indexing it in the early game when your entire team was set up for the late game, you can really see the issues that you put so much pressure on Heng to be the really big setup guy. I just wonder, looking back with hindsight, like if we had just picked maybe a less lane threat to try and help Heng set up better for engages, maybe this looks a bit better. That's nitpicking. Maybe I just don't like pike a lot in competitive play, but it's small things like that that can make a difference. And when we go back to these highlights, again, around that mid game, there were some fights that were really sketchy here for AL.
I mean, it wasn't looking good. It really wasn't. Like, this was a 2K gold lead for LGD throughout the entire mid game. And when you're talking about a GP, Cassio, even Caitlyn comp, Skarner having a gold lead, that's very scary to play into. I had a couple of major concerns, though. I agree with you that the Caitlyn pick was bad. The execution was worse. I mean, if you're going to play Caitlyn, you can't go down 40 CS to Ezreal isolated. Like, when both supports are roaming, that can't happen. That is just unacceptable in terms of how this was played out. Shaoye's positioning in these team fights was not particularly good. And as much as I think, you know, everybody is kind of on the Cassio train right now, I know I'm a lot lower on that champ than it seems like other people are. I know a lot of people really like Cassiopeia. If you're playing Cassio with a Gangplank and you've got a Skarner and a Pike for setup, the last thing I want to see is you trying to flank every fight. Like every single one. There was no front to back this entire game from Tangyuan. They didn't find any sort of consistent engages. We were playing melee range Caitlyn in some of these team fights. It just really felt like you had the tools and you didn't use them well enough. You had the opportunity to win this game and it never came to fruition.
Really good point to make that, like, Hope just goes up multiple waves of CS twice. We won't know who makes the call, but for this game 3, can we please not make my AD carry full walk top to overload for a turret? Like, it's valuable. Like, it definitely got the value they intended. Burdol was super fed. They got first turret again. They did it in both games with the grubs, but man, it's just killing Shaoye's momentum at all in these games. And well, maybe we'll see them index a bit more to play for him in this game, because Burdol was super fed, and also the Gangplank really struggled to get up and going. I mean, this guy, you mentioned it was a 2K gold lead. Burdol was 2K up this whole game. Into these pretty big fights, he was like a 3-item Gangplank with his Cannon Barrage passive scaled up decently well. He's not really able to have a big impact, so it's a tough spot to be in. We'll see what LGD decide to cook up here with one more game lost, ending their season here in Split 2.
Unfortunately, I do think we got a good glimpse as to why Gangplank has not been super meta over the past couple of years in this one, where even with the gigantic lead, it's just so difficult. True. It's just, It's tough. Like, Gangplank is a tough champion to be able to pilot, not just in terms of, obviously, the mechanical barrier to execution, but he takes so long to set up in these fights. If you don't have river control playing Gangplank, if you don't have a lot of good vision, it is really hard to be able to pilot that champion well. If Kael, like in this exchange, Kael does pull apart LGD, and now LGD have to walk forward. Well, now Gangplank doesn't have his barrel set up, so we just don't have the damage in this fight. Like, Hope is able to do more damage than the Gangplank, despite the fact that the GP has a 2k gold lead, and that's just the really tough part of this comp. Obviously, not having an 80 carry, because they got bursted down pretty early on here, is also not ideal, but at the end of the day, it really just comes down to we tried something, it didn't work, and now we're down 0-2 against a team that, you know, we need to really start stepping up against. It's our season on the line.
We'll have to see what the game plan is there for LGD. They definitely got creative in the Game 2 draft, so there is still a lot of pretty meta compositions they can go towards. That they left up a lot of champions, especially in, like, when you think about jungle. We still have a lot of those potent 2v2 bottom lanes that we can go towards, right? Like, I know we got rid of Ezreal, but we still talk about Lucian Melio. Ashe Seraphine's going to be out there and floating around. Corki Nami also, if they want to play more for the bottom lane. But speaking on the bottom lane conversation, I know Tarzan ends up, like, you saw the damage numbers. I really hope the damage go crazy diff doesn't get him the MVP here. He was up a ton of gold, but again, he was playing into a tank Skarner. I'm terrified, Kman, that we're going to give Tarzan another player of the game, where I really just think it needs to be Hope.
I think both have really good arguments. I think Hope was the most important in the fights that really mattered. Tarzan...
That's why it's the difference for me.
Yeah, Tarzan had a lot of moments in the mid game that I think kept his team there. When you're talking about a lot of those 1-for-1 trades, a lot of them were Tarzan, you know, at least being able to pull something back, flashing in and making sure he can secure kills onto someone like Shaoye, overextending. That was really important to be able to keep gold in the pocket of AL, and we also think about a lot of the bot lane plays that they made. That was Tarzan's, like, main contribution to the game for me, was seeing all of the pressure that was being put onto the top side coming in from LGD and making sure that the bot side was receiving an equal amount of pressure from the Pantheon. I don't think either of them would be wrong for me, and unfortunately, KDA always wins, Slayer. You must understand. He went 10-1-8. He's gonna get MVP.
Stop doing my Ezreal. That guy played a phenomenal Ezreal game. Yeah, yeah. You know what? I want the Ezreal to get a player of the game. Shocker from Slayer here. Tarzan, yeah. Listen, all right, whatever. He gets another player of the game, cruising towards a player of the series. The way the King of the Jungle seems to have returned to a high level of form in this one.
Ooh,
okay, hold on. I'm getting angry now. This is not a unanimous MVP win. This is not. We just watched it. It was the Nefiri game. All right. Wow. That's gotta be a record nonetheless. I can't remember ever seeing back-to-back unanimous MVPs in 2-game wins like that. So rare air for Tarzan there.
Can we make it 24 for 24 in game number 3? I think that's what Tarzan's probably looking for at this point. He has been unbelievable throughout the series up until this point, regardless of whether you think he was better than Hope or not. He has been fantastic with his execution, and we'll see what he can do. We'll see if he gets some votes stolen away from him in this final game, or maybe if LGD can fight back, because again, we keep talking about this play style that, you know, AL are going for. We're getting 3 games deep on Fearless, and that's when you start to get concerned about these specific playstyles coming apart, we'll just say, in terms of having to branch out.
Anyone's Legend are running thin on comfort champions to bring this series home, but Tarzan is very upset to once again be in the lower bracket and looking to trudge his way through to maybe another MSI performance for AL, but they still got to look at who's in front of them. LGD, out of room for error, backs against the wall. Will they be able to extend their season, or are we bringing the brooms out for the Pandas? Find that out and much more after another short break.